All right, everybody, welcome back to Scratch the Vinyl. I am El Capitan. I am here in the seat with my other host. We're here with a guest, and he's in studio, which I could be more pumped about. But what I'm really pumped about is that I'm wearing this sweet Miami Vice shirt that my dad gave me, and so it's giving me superpowers at this point. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to solve every crime in my neighborhood as soon as we get off of here. But for now, we're going to solve the world's mysteries with a little bit of music talk. So let's first off say hello to my guest, Eric Wieland from KZUM. Eric, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Once again, we're getting brushed with like real radio people, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. My show is called Picks and Jams with just Eric on KZUM Radio. It's every Wednesday morning, 8 to 10. And I do progressive bluegrass for the first hour and jam bands the second hour, typically.
Perfect. So you basically, as we're recording here, we're a hop, skip, and a jump away from me. Like, we're basically in the neighborhood from KZUM. So
you are, absolutely.
You kind of like got in the Batmobile and headed on over here as soon as you could, right?
Yep. Show just finished up. Packed my CDs up and headed on over.
Perfect. So we have our other hosts here. We have, if you haven't met them before, we have Big Red, Brooke here. Brooke, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing, as always.
Have you met Eric before? What's your brush with Eric?
Well, I just listened to a show, and we have a lot of mutual friends, and that we know, and like one of our friends, Nick. I saw you on Facebook, and I was like, oh, this guy looks pretty cool. I'm thinking I might get a hold of him, see if he wants to be on the show.
It's the beard.
It is the beard. Chicks dig the beards, and that's an amazing plug for one of our sponsors.
Beard.
Yeah, he has like a well manicured beard, and I think the Elegant Sasquatch beard company would love to send him some products. So Chris, if you're listening out there, you got to get this guy some. I mean, his beard already looks great, but it could look even better if you can even believe that.
I've never put any products in it, so I can't imagine.
You know what? I have guys say that all the time. I don't use product. And then when they use it, they're like secretly in the bathroom with the door locked. What are you doing? And they're like, nothing. They come out with this beautiful. Yeah. All their, okay. Uh-huh.
I don't know. That seems weird.
And then we have our other host here. He's been known to be Lincoln's uncle when it comes to entertainment, as we talked about last week. He's the party monster himself. He is the Godzilla of karaoke. He is Randy, Mr. Chill Wilson, everybody. Randy, how the heck are you?
I am fabulous. How are you guys?
Great.
I want you to know I finally got out this weekend and partaked in a little live music. I want to give a big shout out to Brian Farr. He is the current bass player of Groove Puppet. And I really want to thank his wife, Sheridan, for basically partying with me all day down at Rock the Docks at the embassy, watching one of my old favorite bands, Groove Puppet, before the Husker game day this last Saturday. And what a great day of live music. And a lot of people, some people know this, a lot maybe don't, but when the Rock the Docks started back in 2001, Groove Puppet was the first band to play down there. And that's back when they were kind of playing almost every week somewhere, between the Cappies and kind of that circuit of places that kind of the better bands were playing all the time. So it was great to see those guys. They sounded as good as ever. And of course, I partaked in a little bit of mine and your favorite beverage, Cain, and just a beautiful day to listen to outdoor music and go Big Red.
Yeah.
What drink would that be again, Randy?
It was gin and tonic with a couple squeezes of lime.
Sounds wonderful, man.
Perfect for a hot, sunny day.
I need an intern to pour me one right now. Like, we need to get this show big enough where I have an intern here all the time serving me gin and tonics all morning, right?
Can't you just strap one on to the dog and, he comes running down every time you call her or something?
Well, the thing is my dog has, unfortunately, and I promise you I'm not a bad dog owner, but on occasion my dog has licked right out of the glass. So I would say that my dog's probably my drinking buddy at this point.
Whether you know it or not, it's happening somewhere.
Yeah. I promise no animals were harmed in the making of this episode.
It just felt really good.
But obviously having Eric Wieland on today from KZUM, thanks for joining us on Scratch the Vinyl today, man.
Absolutely. And I just want to talk about that bass player real quick. What's his first name?
Brian Farr.
Farr. I've seen his band Farr before a couple times. A power trio, pretty metally, fun.
Yeah,
he's in a lot of good bands. I'm really.
He has been, and he's played with a lot of other well-known guys here in town. And I know Brian would love to be playing more. I mean, he expressed that to me this weekend, but it was really great catching up with him. Man, love all those guys. And I just, again, realized how much I miss seeing some of the bands that I used to go see in the 90s, and the music they play is just my favorite. So it was a great weekend for me.
Yeah, and well, he's still out there gigging hard, so it'd be neat to get him in here and get his perspective on how the local scene is and what his take on it is.
Oh yeah, I threw it at him. So I hope Brian catches this episode. And I've already planted the seed. He's going to be a future guest for sure on Scratch the Vinyl.
When next time I see him out, I will definitely bring it up.
Brooke and I had an amazing thing happen to us. Like the stars aligned for me once again. I don't know why it happens for me, but I've been talking about Johnny Paycheck for a while, right? Like talking about like classic country people. And I've been saying to you guys, like, I know everyone talks about Johnny Cash, but they don't talk about Merle Haggard and Johnny Paycheck like they should. And these are the guys that actually went to prison, okay? These are the guys that actually had the addictions and the hard life. Yeah. And they also were, I mean, they just happen to be my favorites. Well, for whatever reason, the stars aligned, and unfortunately, Johnny Paycheck is no longer with us, but his son is, and he's a recording artist. He just played the Opry, and he's playing all over the country, and they're just driving, doing small venues on their way to bigger gigs. And you tell us the story, like, how the heck did we get Johnny Paycheck's son to play at Kelly's Pub?
I'm kind of busy. The phone rings, and this guy says, "Hey, who do I talk to talk about having bands come in?" So I'm thinking a future event. And I said, "Well, you can talk to me, what day, thinking, da-da-da." And he goes, "Well, actually today or tonight, we're in Iowa right now, passing through, and we're supposed to be playing at a bar in Lincoln, but they canceled for some reason, and just wondering if you guys have an opening." And I was like, "Well, yeah, okay, what's your name, da-da-da?" And he goes, "Well, my name's da-da-da." And he goes, "But do you know Johnny Paycheck?" And I was like, "Where have I heard that name?" And I'm like, Cain has brought him up numerous times. And I go, "Yeah?" And he goes, "Well, it's his son, John Paycheck is in this band." And I was like, "Yep, we have nothing going on. You're coming on in." And I text Cain right away. He's like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And then he texted his buddy, and he's like, "We're going down. We're bringing our equipment. We got some interviews." I mean, and then the cutest thing is I have these pictures of Cain with him, and he brought in his dad's vinyl to sign. And so we have these really cool pictures of with John and Cain and John signing his dad's vinyl. And that was probably my favorite part of the whole night.
You know what was weird about that is I thought I had a signed album for some reason. Like I remember thumbing through, and sometimes when you go to like garage sales or estate sales, you'll see this stuff and you'll look at the back and you'll go, "Oh, that's not a real signature." So I was thumbing through which one I wanted to bring to get signed, and I was hoping he wasn't one of those sons. I was like, my dad was an a-hole, I don't want to sign that, but he was not that at all. And so I got him to sign this album. I'll show you guys. And he got I got his dad's signature here, which he did confirm was his dad's signature, and then I got his son to sign directly under it. And so his dad signed it in 2002, which was a year before he passed. And then he signed it here in 2024. And so I just put that there. Obviously, I'm clutching my my pearls and my pillow tight. And it just...
You slept with that vinyl that night, didn't you?
Every
I would have.
night, yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were going to lift your shirt up and have him sign your chest. But I mean...
I wanted to spare him the man boobs,
Well, you do. We So this was your turn this time.
Yeah. we wanted to turn it around on you. You know, usually the female everyone's wanting, but you know, everybody wants them to get my, B's or whatever I have and male boobs signed.
Well, we
the
we did do
bra.
a really. You could borrow my bra anytime. I don't care.
But you know, interviewing John outside was absolutely unbelievable, and hearing his talking about his dad. And I'll be putting these on Drop the Needle on our YouTube, these interviews. But just listening to him talk about his dad's battles with addiction, his dad had coming back after being in prison. All of a sudden nobody wanted him in the music industry, and him having to battle back. It was amazing. And, listening to him play one of his dad's songs during it, it was just like, man, the stars. Thank you, Brooke. You are my lucky charm. Once again, who are we conjuring next? That's all I want to know.
Wait, I think you said Johnny Cash, and I said, I guess I could do that. And I love to wear black. I was like, well, I could like do my own version of it. Maybe Randy and I could sing at karaoke. We do it all the time, Johnny and June.
Merle Haggard's son, I just became friends with him on Facebook and through his music page, and so I'm hoping to get Merle Haggard's son, and then I will have literally completed the triad of the dark arts, then blood can sit in this circle, and then all of a sudden all this crazy stuff's gonna happen.
You want me to get my cauldron out again? Because that's what I do.
I'll know we have finally made it with this show if you somehow get Julian Lennon here.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
done.
We're putting it into the universe, everybody. You heard it here
With Les
first.
Claypool too, doing that delirium thing.
Les Claypool. See, man, we're conjuring up all sorts of.
We will manifest it.
If there was definitely a son of a great former artist that's gone, I would love to sit down with Julian Lennon for just 30 minutes if possible.
Yeah, that's the thing. We can just get all. I don't care. I mean, obviously,
John Prine's son is
John
recording. He was
Prine's
just
son.
in Omaha not too long ago.
any of them.
Mhm.
If they're listening out there, and they might not be yet, but they will be. When you go back and you listen to these, you guys need to come on the show, and you need to come do a show at Kelly's Pub of all places, right?
Call it Sons of Legends.
Sons of Legends,
Or Daughters,
bar.
if it works out.
daughters too.
Yeah.
So speaking of other venues in town that we talked to, apparently Gray's Keg had a massive metal show going on, and my man over here is sitting next to me. He went there. He goes to a lot of different shows. Eric, tell us as a special correspondent how that went.
Well, Gray's Keg was hosting the Metal Manifesto. That's John Krause's show. There's a Labor Day Massacre was what it was. It was 2 days, Friday and Saturday. It was all local bands, local metal bands. And he raised about $2,000 for the station. I was there Friday night, 6 to 9, volunteering, and they had a good crowd in there. I mean, it wasn't. I've done other benefits with him before, and it's usually just other band members and spouses kind of hanging out. But there was a sizable crowd at Kegs, the most people I've ever seen at Gray's Kegs. So that was neat. Yeah, I heard the second night wasn't quite as well attended, but he had the football game and other stuff going on. Sunday down at Cooper's Park, I attended the Porch Jam, which is a newly resurrected kind of event. I think they've had those here in the past, but they had 4 porches that all faced Cooper's Park. They all hosted 5 bands over the course of noon to 5 o'clock. And then they had a stage in Cooper's Park that hosted students playing from Blue Raven Studios. And it was a lot of people showed up. It was a great event. Good weather, a little warm, but breezy, a lot of kids out. It was neat.
Yeah. Is that a newer event, that one?
Brand new this year, just happened. Yeah, for the first time. These ladies put it together, some friends of mine that I know just from seeing shows. So, yeah, it was neat. And they're definitely going to do it again next year. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
I used to host a lot of the metal bands in downtown for many years, and they were kind of a summer staple for us. Good old local metal bands like Singe and Dirt Fed, and of course our favorite neighborhood local metal band, Beaver Damage. Love those guys.
I remember those guys.
That might be what
Oh yeah.
band name.
Dirt Fed, they went on to tour with Slipknot there for a while. I don't think any of them came back the same, but I think they enjoyed their time out on the road, maybe a little too much, but
Oh, man, I can't imagine.
Always had great local following for metal bands for sure.
Yeah, it's neat that I'm not really into that scene much at all, but every time I dabble into it, I'm always so surprised at how chill and cool everybody is and friendly. And even though they look like they want to stomp you into the dirt, they're super nice.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. Those guys were always fun to hang out with, very respectful. Music blasting, they start jamming out, but afterwards, man, I used to hang out after hours with those guys and summer parties. Like those, honestly, they were some of the coolest people I ever enjoyed hanging out with after shows.
I think if we had more of that, it's therapeutic. Go jam, just go crazy. And then I think there'd be nicer people on this earth. Maybe we should go to more metal shows.
I think so. And the metal kids out there, they just want to be left alone. They just want to be left alone and do their thing. Like, I mean, I grew up a metal kid, right? I mean, I started in the metal scene, growling, screaming, doing all that stuff. And the thing is it takes a certain type of musician to do it, but for me, it's the guitars. It's just that heavy distortion. I mean, I get down here. I play to my audience at 2 all the time. I get the amps cranking. I get the pedals on. And to me, there's nothing better. But I got to ask you this, Eric. Is the music scene in Lincoln, especially the metal scene, is the metal scene pretty alive? Or what are you seeing out there? Like, how are the crowds right now?
Well, I go to the Zoo Bar and Bodegas and the Bourbon. Those are my big 3 places in town that I go to. And I go to mostly the progressive bluegrass and the jam bands and the funk bands and stuff like that. Not so much the metal. But I've been in Lincoln for 10 years, and I've seen a slowly dwindling of the scene. And it's concerning because I don't see any fresh blood coming in. And I see all these college kids out there in lines at their little clubs, and it seems like EDM is the big thing that they're really going for. Rap is still super popular, and pop country seems to be super popular with the kids. One idea that I had was to get a place on campus that would be available for bands, hopefully like in a student center or something, where bands that were coming to town, if they wanted to busk there, they could.
Yeah.
And then somehow also you got to ride that TikTok thing where those bands have to come in with a 20-second clip of them just raging it and push that stuff hard on TikTok to the university kids. And I don't know what else to really do other than to really push the music out there. I know Bodegas had a thing there under new management, but they are continuing to do this, which is kind of cool. For students with an ID, any cover charge is half price.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, they're trying to get them in there and just trying to keep the scene alive, which is what we need. Something down in the campus would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been talking to Amanda and Josh Hoyer about trying to figure something out.
I had some friends going to the university, and there was an area, it was right by the stadium, kind of outside of the stadium. There's a little fountain, and they had the kids that went to the university, and they had their bands play there. And it was during the day, I want to say maybe a Saturday or something, or not game day, but or a Sunday. And they were out, and I remember really enjoying that. And I don't know if they kept doing it. Obviously, they don't have it anymore, but I think that's a great idea, Eric. I think it's a really good idea.
Well, there used to be this house. I used to be tied to a lot of the punk scene, too, when I was in high school. And a lot of my friends were in a bunch of punk bands, so we'd follow them around. And there used to be this house right behind Wendy's over there on Q Street. And I don't know what it was, but I know a lot of campus people used to pack into that thing.
I went there tons of times. We probably moshed together. I know exactly what you're talking about.
We need to get into Eric and music and why he does what he does.
Why am I here, first of all?
Why are you here is the question. I think Eric's wondering why we contacted him. So let's get into it a little bit. About your show. And honestly, we think that you're the perfect type of person to talk to about what we're doing. Our mission statement when we started, and Randy and I were talking about this to you pre-show, was basically you kind of embody exactly what the show was supposed to be about. We wanted to talk to people about what does music mean to you? because everyone has a story, everyone has a journey when it comes to music as to why they're, and it just so happens that as we're talking, you and I are basically identical on how we listen to music. You and I consume music at an obsessive rate, and we do it for our own reasons. I do it to quell depression. I do it to.
I think I do too.
For all of those reasons, I do it for so many reasons to keep my mind.
Soul food.
Yeah,
that's
soul
what it
food.
is.
Yeah, keep my mind from consuming itself sometimes, and that's a separate subject. But for you, please tell us like why you're a radio personality. What type of music do you play, and why does it resonate with you?
Well, I was raised differently than the normal person. My folks were intellectuals. I didn't listen to pop music at home. They only listened to NPR and classical music, maybe a little Peter, Paul, and Mary. So I had to find music on my own. It was mostly just through the radio and MTV, in the 80s. I graduated high school in 91, went to college. My freshman year in college, I was really getting into Pink Floyd a lot. And then I bumped into a friend who had Grateful Dead tapes. And he started giving me Grateful Dead tapes. And there's a interesting thing there where if you're given a Grateful Dead tape, it's this historical moment in time, and it's magical. And somebody wants you to hear it. So they're giving this to you, and then you listen to it, and then you get back with that person and you talk about the music. There's this dialogue about, oh, this jam here, I liked what that happened there. And I don't know, after getting, some Grateful Dead tapes from him, he asked me if I ever listened to Fish before, and I said no, and that was all over for me. I spent nothing but listening to Fish for the 90s. And anything that influenced them or anything that they enjoyed playing was just everything. And that was such a huge rabbit hole for me, wormhole, I guess, probably even better. So I grew up in my formative years. I was really listening to music hard and then getting back to people and talking about the music. I don't do that. I don't push the music quite so hard. But then I bumped into Deb Anderson, who has the women's show on KZUM, and we got to talking about music, and she invited me to come on her show. And her show is neat because it's all women music, and that's not something I usually gravitate towards, but it really got me to focus more on, I need to focus more on women music because there's great music out there, and there's not a lot of it, really. If you think about the full spectrum of music, there's not a lot of women out there that are played on the radio. So doing her show a couple times is neat. And then I took the Programmer Academy. Anybody that wants to be a DJ on KZUM, they're probably going to do another Programmer Academy this fall. And it's just a couple weekends of classes, and then you do some beta radios, and eventually you get picked up for a show. So, now I'm back, come full circle where I'm sharing music again. So yeah, it's a lot of fun for me. And I see lots of live music. Live music is my I don't know. It's how I continue. I have to have some kind of ticket stub or plans to see a show to keep me going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this room is a prime example of that.
It's a great room.
I mean, this is a room of music and nostalgia.
And Star Wars stuff, too. I love it.
I mean, when I come into this room, all my problems go away, right? I grab my guitar, I start thumbing around, I put on an album, I start picking to that, and it just seems like the world kind of melts away, and I think that's why music is so important to me. Well, this seems like as good a time as any to take a pause for a moment and go ahead and talk about some of those great sponsors that we have. We're going to run a couple commercials for you and then get to some of the local sponsors. Do not fast forward. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Listen to what we're saying here and support these businesses because they support us. And then we'll get back to the show. Ahoy, mateys! Christopher Columbus here. You know me. I discovered America, or at least that's what the history books have been saying for years. Anyways, I have a little confession to make. My compass quit halfway through the trip, and I got lost at sea on the way there.
Ahoy, Captain. What direction should we point the boat?
Shut up, you fool. I'm in the middle of a commercial here. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, yes. When we arrived on land there, the natives were all decked out in their cool Viking gear. They said these big, smelly, bearded guys came, hung out, then split with all their cool stuff.
Aye, it was a weird day.
That could have been our cool stuff. We could have claimed all this great treasure and all this pirate's plunder.
But, sir, how will we steer the boat if we don't have a compass?
Well, this next trip is going to be different. I'm heading to Sly Ink Tattoo to get a compass on my hand. After that, everything is coming up Christopher Columbus.
Ahoy, sir. That new ink looks great on you. After I swap the poop deck and grease the hootenannies, I think we're going to be back to speed and... Oh, no.
What is it now, you buffoon?
It appears as if America's shores are just on the horizon.
What? How could this be? I've been pointing my arm in the same direction for days. Well, looks like this tattoo compass is broken too. Guess I'll have to head back to Sly Ink for that dolphin lower back tattoo I've been wanting to get. Well, looks like our native friends are waving us in, but oh, wait, they don't look very happy. Well, until next time, friends, if there is one. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get ready to rumble with the Ultimate Beard Care Showdown. Introducing our headliner, the one, the only, Squatch.
Oh, yeah, Mean Jim. Squatch in the house, and I'm here to tell you about beard products that'll make your whiskers the talk of the town. If your beard's ready to take on the world, you need the power of our beard balms, butters, and oils, brother.
That's right, Squatch. Let's kick things off with the Beard Balm of Legends.
This beard balm is like a body slam for your beard. It tackles those wild hairs and smooths them out, making your beard look like $1,000,000. No sweat, brother.
What's the scoop with the beard butter?
Oh, brother, it's a game changer. This butter makes your beard softer than a cloud and as easy to manage as a well-oiled wrestling machine. Plus, it's got a scent that's as sweet as victory. Oh, yeah.
And let's not forget the beard oil.
The beard oil is the final knockout punch. It hydrates, shines, and smells like a championship belt made of cedar and pine. Your beard will be the 1, 2, 3 of any match.
Where can our fans score these unbeatable products?
You read my mind, brother. Head on over to elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com and grab your beard gear. And listen up. Use the code SUPERSHOW and get a jaw-dropping 20% off. That's right, 20% off. Your beard's about to go from zero to hero, brother.
That's elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com and use your code SUPERSHOW for 20%. Don't wait, make your beard the ultimate champ today. All right, some other sponsors that we have Roots Music Shop. Get down to Roots Music Shop. You can buy, sell, and trade instruments there. You can also buy vinyl there, which is great for all you vinyl fans. You can get your guitars worked on. They have a guy there that fixes guitars and amps. And just go see Ryan. Go tell Ryan that Scratch the Vinyl sent you, and I swear to you, I promise you, cross my heart and hope not to die, I guess, that he will not chase you away. He will embrace you like a brother or sister, and he will hold you tight and give you good deals. We also have Liberty Contracting. Stan Liberty is a world-class guitar player. He plays in Pasty Jenny. He's a friend of mine, an amazing musician in person, but he also happens to be really good at doing concrete. And so get to Liberty Contracting if you need a patio, if you need a driveway, some stairs poured, all of that stuff. Get a hold of Stan at Liberty Contracting. Last but not least, we want to talk about an unofficial sponsor of ours, which is Kelly's Pub. Get to Kelly's Pub. Kelly's Pub is in Northeast Lincoln. Honestly, I can't think of a better place. They have karaoke. They have bands. They're just an unbelievable bar. Brooke works there, so that's a plus also. And every time I've ever been there, I've never felt more welcome. It is where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came. So get over there to Kelly's Pub, drink those drinks, have a good time, go see Mr. Chill with Mr. Chill's Karaoke, and we hope to see you guys at some of our events there. Now, let's get back to scratching the vinyl with the rest of the show. What about you guys, Randy and Brooke? I mean, I know we've talked about it at Grit, but like in depth wise, I mean, we don't have to get deep into like depression and all that stuff, but I mean, what does music really do to you guys? I mean, I'll start with Brooke first, and then I kind of want to know, Randy too. Like, do you guys have that same kind of thing where it just like engulfs you? Like, it's almost like you put a massive like blanket over your head and everything is just kind of like, you know, you just kind of melt into it. What is it like for you?
Absolutely. There's so many types of music that, like, if I'm feeling sad, I listen to this kind, or if I'm feeling, you know, angry, or if I'm feeling happy, or I want to remember something in my childhood, like Elvira with the cans on, you know. Music means so much to me. And like we've said this before, even in movies, like the music almost makes it better than some of the, like the acting or the what's going on. It's the music that creates that whole feeling. In live shows, there's something different about live shows. Now I'm getting a little older and it's a little bit more harder for me to go out in public with tons and thousands of people. But once you're there and you get to experience it, especially people that you have looked up to for you know, or that you have had some sort of relationship in a sense, not necessarily with them, but with their music. And it just resonates in your soul. And I think music, I mean, they've done studies about it with brainwaves and how it creates different feelings and thoughts. And I think music, if we didn't have music, it would go to hell in a handbag, this world would. And I appreciate people like Eric that are on the radio and that get to share all of that. And you have a great show, and especially KZUM. I mean, that the local radio station, I mean, it's worldwide. I mean, people listen to it all over the place. And it has so many genres and so many different, like the women, and then they have yours. And I listen. I mean, you could go on the whole day and you could get something different. And it really lets Lincoln also have a voice in, hey, come out and look at these different venues and these different types of music. And it brings a lot of people together. And I really, you know, appreciate what you're doing, Eric, with KZUM, because it's one of my favorite. I give money to them. I have my cup and my T-shirt. I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate everybody that tunes in and listens. I appreciate the shout outs. And yeah, music is the best because it brings people together. That's the bottom line. It always has and always will be for that.
It's so important. You know, Randy, what does it do for you? I mean, like, what does music do for your chemical makeup inside?
We haven't brought out a quote on the show for a while. If you guys that been regular listeners to the show. And maybe my favorite quote right now on this subject is, you want to know me better? Listen to what I'm playing on my playlist right now. And I think I just have so many different genres of music that I love. And each one plays a factor in probably my mood or the type of mood I want to get into or how I'm feeling that day, or how it relates to my relationships with people. It just is the binder to everything to me. And I love sharing it. I thought Eric had a great point when he was talking about getting some Grateful Dead for the first time. What he said there was hit home perfectly, because there was a time period where I found myself listening to the Doors like nonstop, listening to the Beatles nonstop, listening to Pink Floyd. It was like a certain connection to that past, and like I'd put on the greatest hits and go to sleep to it, kind of thing. You know, it was just like I just couldn't consume enough. But it was a focus on a time period maybe, and kind of takes you back to the history of stuff. And all those albums and songs, I mean, that's the nice thing. You can go back now 5 decades and still find stuff that is great that you can still relate to. I watch a lot of YouTube stuff where kids are exposed to stuff 30, 40 years ago that have never heard it before.
Yeah.
And they're blown away. They're like, oh my God, this is good. And you're like, yeah, it's classic. But
guilty pleasures is watching those reaction videos.
Yeah. It's like there's one about where people listen to Karen Carpenter for the first time. And man, they're just blown away because, I mean, she was a unique vocal talent and an amazing drummer and all those things. It's just a good example of how certain music never dies when it's reintroduced to, new generations of people. And kind of continue on with our point of the show.
We have all been around through an interesting part of time. When we started listening to music, we had to go out to record shops and get those records and buy them. If we were lucky, we could get that dual tape player going on the radio. We could record stuff off the radio, and then we could start burning CDs for each other. But now all the streaming sites, it's so overwhelming too. If you want to listen to something on Spotify, it's like, oh, what do I really want to listen to? I mean, it's so overwhelming. I have to be so much more dialed in and focused on what the next thing that I want to, investigate is. But I mean, just for like the normal person that just listens to music passively, it almost seems like there's too much music out there. What do you guys think about that?
Andy, remember we were talking about that? How it's over too much sometimes, and you have to weed it out. But sometimes you do find that little gem, and you find that when you go down the rabbit hole, it's like Netflix. All of a sudden I'm like, this is the coolest movie ever. 15 hours later, when I'm like trying to figure out what to watch, it's kind of with music too, but it's really out there and it's easy, accessible for anyone to do it. And so it does get a little much.
I know exactly what this is. And Eric brought it up earlier to me, which is actively, intentionally listening to music. Mm-hmm. You're going out of your way to listen to something specific and not just turn on the Spotify and let the player run. You're intentionally listening to what you love to hear.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why things like this is important. Why Scratch the Vinyl? Because we are getting people out there that we know are legit, that have been musicians, or they've been, I don't know. They're just
music nerds.
They put and they put their work in, and they are somebody. It's not just some kid in their basement trying to do a rap or something. I mean, sorry, kids, they've tried it. Mine have.
Keep trying, kids.
Well, kids aren't getting it like we did, and I hate to sound like the old guy, but we were. You made a great point. We lived in a great time where we actually went to the record store, right? Mm-hmm. And not only that, but we would buy a record on a whim. Okay,
and what it looked like, maybe.
Yeah, like, oh man, I love this album. I kind of like this band. I'm gonna check this out, and maybe there were a couple great songs on there, but then you would learn to love all of the songs on the album. Mm-hmm. Because you bought the dang thing, you spent the $10 or whatever it was back then, and kids aren't getting that now. They're consuming so much that they have this music ADD going on, and so all they're consuming is, at times, I shouldn't call it trash, but they are getting lost and they're not finding all these classics, and so. It's amazing to have shows like you have on KZUM, like stuff that we're promoting, where we're talking about all the old music. We're hoping that people are going back and they're actually listening to this stuff. And if you do want to listen to a playlist, you can always check out the Scratch the Vinyl podcast playlist on Spotify, and you can hear all of the stuff that we're talking about as we go. So try it that way. So
Spotify and all of those, they do bring out good things, so we can show other people some great stuff. But I do also think there's a lot of stuff. It is a different time, and we have cell phones now. We have our computers. We have all of this stuff that does kind of get in the way, but it also is a great thing, and we just have to use it correctly. And like KZUM, you're probably streaming everywhere. And if we didn't have all that, people in Europe wouldn't be able to listen to you. I think it's a cool thing if we use it right, but we're just going to have to learn how to. Maybe some of you don't put something on YouTube until it's really good, guys. Okay, kids. Just kidding.
Well, I think the point they were trying to make is that unfortunately that a lot of new listeners are getting spoon-fed the music, where when we're talking about getting albums of artists and then taking that album home and listening to the whole thing, they're finding those hidden gems because they're active in the music and they're active in researching the artist and maybe finding more about them. And I think, to the big point of what maybe Eric and Cain were saying was, unfortunately, most people are getting spoon-fed just kind of what mainstream is. And we've learned a long time ago that we found a lot of great songs outside of what the mainstream was trying to push to us on the top 40.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So much great music out there.
Oh, I mean, we always ask this question on the show. What does your vinyl collection look like? I mean, this is Scratch the Vinyl. We always want to know what everybody's collection looks like. If you had a couple favorites in that stack of milk crates you got.
To be honest with you, I only have, I think, 2 vinyl records. I never collected vinyls back in the day. I had a huge tape collection in high school, and then I switched over to CDs, my freshman year in college. I was a little late to the CD collection, so I'd play nothing but CDs on the radio station, and I have way, way, way too many CDs and bootlegs and such. But I've got a John Hartford Aeroplane album, vinyl that's framed up on the wall, and a Gillian Welsh album up on the wall. So those are the 2 vinyls that I have. But,
love it.
Yeah, but definitely have boatloads of bootlegs and tapes. The old Maxell XL2s that we had to get all the live recordings on back in the day before CDs ever came out. Yeah.
8 tracks. Well, and I know, like, we were talking to Chris from Hooked, and he was like, yeah, I got a ton of CDs. It's because they're smaller, and you can put them in your car with your little black thing that you have that you can flip through. My kid, we're getting in the car, I go, put a CD in. He goes, you still have a CD player in your car?
I need to get a new car here sometime soon, and I will not buy a car that does not have a CD player in it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, apparently it's making a big comeback. Apparently now CDs are making a massive comeback.
Good.
They're not getting rid of CD players in cars. People are actually asking for them. And so now I saw that there's a big resurgence in CD sales. And so I think that they're going to start pumping that a little bit more.
Vinyl is responsible for that, though, because I think vinyl outsold CD sales the last 2 or 3 years. And I think vinyl is really responsible for keeping the record industry afloat right now, instead of just putting out an EP or a couple tracks at a time.
People even buy albums on Apple and different things anymore. Like, is that?
I think if they have them, yeah. I think if it's available, I think our kids are going to have a podcast called Scratch the CD. Don't do that because it sucks. You buy all your CDs and you have to use like the pledge to clean it. Oh, that was the worst.
Only cassettes would come back. Like, that's what I'm waiting for. Then it'll be rewind the tape, where you stick the pencil in there and kind of wind it back up where all the guts are falling out of it.
Get all your tapes out that you recorded on the radio, and you're trying to not get the DJ in there. So
gingerly pull that tape out if it was all threaded. Machine. You're like, don't break.
Exactly. I've actually got a pretty good cassette collection in here too. If you look around, I mean, I actually have quite a few cassettes, and I do pop those in from time to time. I love the nostalgia of it. I consume it the same way. I pop it in. I play my guitar to it, probably terribly, and then I move on. I flip the tape when it's over with. So everybody consumes it differently, but I think we've kind of covered some of this. So we probably need to scratch the vinyl onto the next thing, everybody. So next on our agenda is, and this is another thing that we've kind of become accustomed to doing, is I like to ask sometimes, where does the music take you, Eric, when you listen to music? Like, is there a certain, let me ask you it this way. Is there a certain album or jam band or something that every time that you listen to it, it basically takes you in your DeLorean back to wherever it is in your mind? What is something like that for you?
I'm not big on nostalgia, to be honest with you. I'm more looking forward. I'm always looking to see that next band that's coming through and seeing what they are doing. I definitely listen to old recordings of old shows, and I definitely have lots of recordings of shows that I've been to. So that's kind of neat to pull up a concert that I've been to and relive that. Because I'm fortunate to have a lot of those kind of recordings.
But you have to have a memory, like a memory of a song. Like I was talking about mine's when I had Elvira and I had my cans on, I was like 3 years old. And I just remember that, like maybe your first memory of the first time you listened to music and you were like, what the heck is this?
I remember being really, really young, and the lyrics to some Bob Dylan song came on. And it was probably Like a Rolling Stone, I think. And I remember that the lyrics really hitting me hard. But it took me another 10 years to find that song again. But I would stumble across those lyrics from time to time. Here and there, they'd pop up, and I'm like, oh, there they are again. Who is this? And so music has always been a search for me. Yeah, I mean, I definitely can go back and we can talk about memories all about. But I'm keeping me happy in the future too, not necessarily about looking
Now,
back.
do you think that's the lyrics or like just the sound? I mean, I know you like jam bands, and I know that's a lot of feeling in the instruments. And I mean, what do you think it matters which one is like what's more important? Because I think they both just intertwine completely.
No, it doesn't matter as long as it makes me move. And I'm guilty for the older I get, swaying harder and harder. I don't know if anybody would call it dancing, but man, I sway hard. And, and I love it. I love that feeling when the band is playing and you're moving and you're having fun and you're feeling that energy exchange between you and the band and a good audience in the band. That reciprocal energy. That's my favorite thing.
Mine too. I get the energy thing. We talk about that with the bands, and you go see a band, and if they have good energy, the room just becomes a different entity. And I love going to bands like that. Now I appreciate all music, but there are certain bands and certain types of music that does it. It brings you in, and very therapeutic.
Fortunately, Cain, did you see we did have some local sad news this week? Another, great legend, music contributor to Lincoln, Charlie Burton, passed away.
Yeah. I'm not too familiar with him. Tell us about him, would you?
Well, I kind of first was exposed to Charlie because he was a music critic for Rolling Stone in the early 70s. And he became, played in a lot of different local bands, of course, played at the zoo a lot. He moved to Texas, I think, and then was part of several bands down there, came back to Lincoln in the 2000s, recently died of cancer this last week. But he was a big influence on kind of that blues and rock and
right?
folk music out of Lincoln. Like I said, very, very regular here in Lincoln and Omaha. Very well known.
What a treasure to the town too, and we should really be celebrating. If we weren't already, we should be celebrating, especially now that we're not going to get any, more music or shows out of him. We should really look back at his body of work. And Charlie Burton was loved by many. Many had seen him play. Many have seen him rock. And I saw that Ryan from Roots had mentioned that's how I learned that Charlie Burton had passed. And it's just too bad. It's just, we were just talking about that last week about we're losing a lot of these great musicians from our town. And so we kind of need us younger people. We need people to step up and really try to do what they did, right? Like try to really continue the trend and keep Lincoln on the map, because Lincoln is a fantastic town, but it wouldn't have been as great if it wasn't for people like Charlie Burton.
One of the last interviews I saw with Charlie is something that you can totally relate to, Cain, is that kind of in these later years as he's gotten older, he made a big deal about going to garage sales to search for albums. And that was like one of his things he talked about I thought you'd love that.
It's my absolute favorite thing to do. It really is. Like, I wasn't lying when I told Coriel, like, I probably do give the evil eye to somebody as soon as I spot those records when I get up the driveway. And I'm like, I know it's going to be a battle. And I go running, barreling down the driveway to get to them. It's just, it's amazing, man. Maybe in some weird way, maybe him and I even had an exchange or talked about, because I didn't know him personally. I probably wouldn't have recognized him on the streets because I didn't know him very well, and he certainly wouldn't know me. But I'd like to sit here and think to myself that maybe him and I met at a garage sale, you thumbing through some of the
Fighting
same
over
records.
some good vinyl.
I mean, Charlie, he opened for like the Ramones and the Replacements. Like he was pretty well known, like in some like really big groups that used to come around.
Absolutely.
Cain, I'm sure you did. It's kind of like when some of our guests that we've had on here, and like with you, Eric, I'm like, yeah, I probably hung out with you before. I was that crazy one that was swaying really crazy and
Quote unquote swaying. Yeah.
Not stumbling, swaying in place.
Well, hopefully that's what our show does. Is we can shine a small spotlight on some great artists that have been in our area, and maybe shed some new light on some new up and comers. Really,
there's definitely lots of great new and young bands out there that I love to see. If I could run through a list of some bands I love to see, Secret Formula. Those guys are going to be playing in the studio live again October 2nd, I think, or maybe it's October 4th, whatever that Wednesday is. They're really great guys. They started off coming out of the pandemic with Fandemic, a Fish cover band, and established very quickly a nice little fan base, and then came out and said, hey guys, we are also going to do this Secret Formula band that's going to be all original music. So they've been able to ride that formula of building a young band and building a fan base fairly quickly. Well, I love the Midland band, tons. He got Funk Trek is really great, Valley Creature, Head Change, so many great bands out there. The Omaha Beat Brigade.
There's just so much, isn't there? Like I mean, it's nonstop. If you really dig into it, there's so much to listen to out there.
I seriously average 6 to 7 shows a month. I see a lot of live music, and it's usually smaller bands. I don't go and spend a lot of big money on big acts. Currently, I just can't afford it, really. But I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know we don't have a ton of time. We're kind of getting to the point where it's getting closer to the end of the show. But we do need to ask you. We want you to promote whatever you'd like to promote. Anything big coming up. I know you've mentioned some things here on your show or on KZUM that you'd like to talk about now.
Well, if you like progressive bluegrass and jam band music and anything in between and beyond, listen to my radio show. It's on KZUM Wednesday mornings, 8 to 10. It's called Picks and Jams. If you're working or if you're not available to listen live, you can always go to kzum.org and find the archive button. Find my show, Picks and Jams, and the last 2 weeks' shows are there, so you can listen to them in their entirety that way as well. On my show every week, during the first hour and second hour, I will list shows that are on my radar. So if you're into live music and this kind of stuff that I like, I share that twice every show. I can't name everything, but it's the stuff that I am actively probably going to go see or would recommend. So that's how I do it. And then I play a lot of bands that I love. I play a lot of local bands as well. So that's what else can I promote? I mean, other than KZUM's been great to me. A bunch of music nerds over there that no matter when you turn it on, you're going to find music that you probably haven't heard before. It's all really good quality stuff. They're all sharing music. They're not trying to sell you anything. So that's the special thing there at KZUM. And then one last thing. In January, probably, I think it's January 18th, I'm going to be hosting another benefit for KZUM at the Bourbon Theater. It's going to be called the January Jam and Jamboree. I did one last year, and I had a Fish cover band and a Grateful Dead cover band. Last year just happened to fall on the coldest night of the year, so we didn't get nearly as many people as we wanted, but we still sold 120 tickets and made $2,000 for the station. But I'm looking forward to doing that again this year with a bunch of tribute bands again.
Perfect.
So thanks again, though, for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. And would definitely like to come on again sometime down the road.
Absolutely. And in January, when you have your we love doing those kinds of things, like promoting for the station, for the bands. Come back again so we can promote all of that. We'd love that.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Absolutely. Really appreciate it, Eric, especially fellow comrade here in promoting local music and you doing your part. And I'd be remiss if I don't give a big shout out to a friend of mine, Bruce Simonson, that used to actually got me listening to KZUM for the first time many years ago. So Bruce, if you're listening, thank you. And again, Eric, thanks so much for spending some time with us on Scratch the Vinyl.
Yeah, it's been great meeting you guys and talking with you. Thanks again.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back here in the studio. You're only a hop, skip, and a jump away. Now you know where I live. So if ever I wrong you and you want to settle the score, now you know where I'm at.
Yeah, but I know you got little,
Yeah.
little dogs that are come get me, though.
That's right.
But I know what time you play at the KZUM. I know where that's at. I'll be outside just like I do Cain's house and just sit and watch you guys.
Promises.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and we will have you back. Please get a hold of us if you want to promote anything. If you want to if you go to shows and you just want to be a correspondent to some of these shows and expose people and give them more exposure, get a hold of us and come talk on the show, man.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. That will be an interesting day to continue working together with you guys with. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's listen to Eric on KZUM, everybody. And thank you guys for listening. Unfortunately, this show has to come to an end, but tune in next week as we
Scratch the vinyl.
Yeah.